think beyond that, what I always wrestled with is, does God care what kind of work I do? Does he want me to love and serve my neighbor or my community through my vocation? And, how do I carry over the biblical principles that we learn, around biblical conflict resolution? Or, how to treat subordinates, right? Employees, or how to treat bosses, or how to handle the discouragement, right? That, we talked about even before when we talked about work being before the curse in the garden, right? And yet there was the curse, and we're called to still cultivate, but now we're dealing with thorns and thistles, and weeds. And so we know that discouragement and frustration is part of work. Work is not the curse, but it's under the curse. And so how do we as people of faith handle that when that comes? And so, I think for me, regardless of the kind of work that we're doing, whether it's law or operations or any of the other ones that I mentioned or any other, it's understanding how am I called to cultivate, really, which is the Lord's command, right, in Genesis 2, when he creates the orchard and he puts man into it to cultivate it. What does cultivation look like in my vocation? And also, what does that mean is as people of faith, how are we called to change, and redeem parts of our vocation that might be broken? So, that can be, I think I mentioned to you in the pre-interview, just our financial services, system here in Dallas being broken somewhat for under-resourced, people who use payday lending, for example, which are micro loans, but at high interest that keeps them in a cycle of dependence and debt, and going, hey, as people of faith, what can we do about this to restore, redeem, and fix this brokenness? And so it's really a bigger theology of work for me, and impact, and understanding identity. The other problem we have here in Dallas is that we tend to, work as an expression of our identity, but it's not the source of it. And so in this kind of hard charging business culture that is Dallas, it's really easy for us to find our identity there instead of, as people of faith in the Lord. And so that's important. And then, just again, how do we love and serve people through our vocation?
Yeah.